Welcome to our daily Forex market analysis, and this is for trading on August 1st, 2019. Just a quick disclaimer here before we get started. This is for educational purposes only. Trading is a risky business, so please be careful with your money. As usual, we'll get started by taking a look at our calendar here. So today, big news here, FOMC, we heard that we saw that Fed cut the rates as expected by a quarter point. So went from 2.50 to 2.25. However, the rate cut was expected by the market. It was all priced in. And what is really important is that even though they cut the rate, they did not give any forward guidance in terms of continuation of rate cuts. So overall, they said that the economy is still doing okay, and this rate cut is essentially they're just taking steps to. This is an insurance rate cut, so it's just taking steps to make sure it continues to do so. And other than that, in terms of the next rate cuts, they said that they're just going to see how things go, and based on that, those decisions will be made. So they're going to monitor the environment to see when or if the rate cut will be necessary, but they did not provide any guidance as to if there will be any further cuts or when. And as a result of that, we saw US dollar go up and equity markets dropped. So coming up here, we have our Chinese manufacturing PMI numbers. These will have an impact on US dollar. Sorry, these will have an impact on Australian dollar and New Zealand dollar. And then tomorrow here, a big day for a British pound. So we Sorry about that. So we saw that. So we have already heard from our Fed. Now, Bank of England is next. A lot of central banks are taking a cautionary approach to the future developments, but Bank of England has yet to really make any kind of comments in regards to easing the monetary policy. So we have heard from Reserve Bank of Australia, Reserve Bank of New Zealand, Bank of Japan. Now Fed has cut rates, but we haven't really heard anything from Bank of England in terms of their concern for the future forecast for the economy. So tomorrow we'll see if they actually express any kind of concern. So at this point, not expecting an interest rate cuts. So everything is supposed to stay the way it is. The important thing would be their comments. So how are they seeing the economic outlook now that the Brexit is getting closer? We are about 100 days away from Brexit. How are they feeling about that? And are they concerned about what the economy will do under those circumstances? Are they preparing for a no-deal Brexit? Those type of things are what we have to keep an eye on. If they are concerned about economic developments or they're concerned about no-deal Brexit, any of those things will actually be negative for British pound. And if they start talking about easing monetary policy, which I don't really expect them to at this point, but if they do, that will be negative for a British pound. And then we have Carney speaking about half an hour after the monetary policy statement comes out here. In the New York session, we have manufacturing PMI numbers here, as well as ISM manufacturing PMI numbers. So these are leading indicators for retail sales and GDP, so very important numbers here. And then we have a Japanese here, monetary policy meeting minutes. So we have already seen what they have, because Bank of Japan was earlier this week. So we already know what these meeting minutes are likely to be. So I don't expect a big reaction out of them. But retail sales here, if they are below expectations, we could see Australian dollar react to that. So that's what we have for our news. Let's go on to our charts here. So euro dollar, we saw euro dollar drop. So yesterday we were looking at our candle here. Price did not go higher. We were into resistance here, and price dropped right away in anticipation of the Fed there. It kind of hung around for most of the day. And then after the Fed statement here, we saw this big drop here. And now we are seeing continuation. So sometimes what happens, or many times what happens, is when we have such a big news, we tend to see a reaction. So here we saw that price dropped here. So there was a reaction from the US session, but now the Asian session, Asian traders haven't really had a chance to digest the news. So we see that we see a reaction again. So this is what's happening right now. So of course, bias is bearish based on this big bearish candle here. And another thing to keep in mind here is euro is seeing a bigger move because now we have a bit of a disparity between the two central banks. ECB is looking to ease monetary policy, whereas Fed has said that this is a one-off insurance rate cut, and we don't have plans or continued plans for interest rate cuts until such time that we see signs that that's really needed. So as a result of that, euro is negative right now. So bias is bearish. And of course, the target that we had from yesterday here, we have 1.1020 as the first target, and 1.0920 is the second target. So bias is bearish for euro dollar here. And pound dollar, we saw a similar reaction ahead of our Fed statement, FOMC. We saw price go up, but when we had the Fed statement, it dropped here. So overall, we have a pin bar here, and as a result, bias is bearish. Now, first target is 1.2080 level here, which it's very close to, and then 1.2020. So bias is bearish for pound dollar. Aussie dollar here, yesterday we were looking for a drop. It did a big back test here and then has dropped now. So bias is bearish, and we have to see a break below this support. So price came into our support level here at 0.6830. So for it to continue lower, we need to see a drop here. But overall bias is bearish, but I would be careful here because we had a nice bearish bias here, but then price moved up from this level. So we are into the same level once again. If price does not break below this 0.6830 level, it could go up higher. So I would be careful, but bias is bearish. Next target is 0.6780. So bearish bias for Aussie dollar as well. New Zealand dollar here, we saw a big drop in New Zealand dollar, and we have seen it break through our support. So bias is still bearish here, looking for it to drop further. And our first target would be 0.6520. And then we're looking for price to drop further. Next target would be 0.6480. So bearish bias for New Zealand dollar as well. Dollar CAD here, a big move up and down. If you take a look at it, there was a drop, and then price has moved up since the FOMC. So based on this candle close here, bias is bullish. Next target is 1.3240 level, back into the support resistance level, and above that we are looking at 1.3280. So bullish bias here for dollar CAD. Silver here, we had a huge drop in silver today, and now looking for a continuation. Bias is bearish. 16 will be the target here. And if it drops further, we're looking at 15.92. So bearish bias for silver. Gold here, gold as well. Price was stuck in this range for some time. We have a nice bearish candle close, and now it wants to come down into this 1400 level. And then below that, we're looking at 1385. So gold bias is bearish as well. Oil had been going up, but today we saw a drop. So bias here is bearish. Now we are into this previous support resistance level. So today bias is bearish, looking for it to drop further. So 57 is the first target, and then looking at 55.60. So bias is bearish here for oil. Copper, yesterday we had a nice bearish candle close, nice pullback, and then a drop. So now we have a nice bearish candle close for the day. So looking for it to drop further again, back into this support level here, 2.60. So bearish bias for copper. Bitcoin here. Bitcoin, yesterday we had a neutral candle close. Today, price held above that level here, this 94.50 level, and we have a bullish candle close. But I'm not sure we are out of the woods yet. Price has been trading in this range for the last 5-6 days here. If price stays below 10,200, it can go back towards 94.50 level. But if it goes above that level, then I will look for it to go into the next level. But for it to continue, we would need to see a break, pullback, and continuation. But for now, it looks like it's rejecting the high. So I will look for it to go towards the 94.50 level, and then potentially into 90.50 level. So right now, this is looking range bound here. S&P 500, we saw a big drop here, and this was a result of the FOMC. So the FOMC statement was not very bullish. Actually, it was in fact seen as, FOMC's statement was actually seen as, I would say, bullish, not very bullish for the equity markets, but overall it was seen as a bullish rate cut. That means even though Fed did an interest rate cut, they are actually not dovish on the economy. That means they are not viewing the economy negatively, and they're not too concerned about it at this point. And as a result of that, we have seen our equity markets drop. So we have a big bearish candle close here. So we could get a pullback into 29.90, and then I will look for a drop. So bias here is bearish. I will look for a pullback, and then potentially a drop into 2900. So bias here is bearish for S&P 500. NASDAQ here, this one looks bearish as well. We have seen a big drop. For the day, I would look for a pullback, and then potentially a drop here. So bearish bias here. And this is what I would look out for in terms of our NASDAQ. Target is 7720, and pullback level is 7900. DAX here, we have bearish move here. I will look for price to move lower into 11,985. So bearish bias for DAX. FTSE also looking bearish here. I will look for price to drop further. We could get a pullback into 7620, and then a potential drop into 7480. So bias here is bearish for FTSE. And Nikkei here, we have a bearish candle close, but we are into support, so we need to be careful with that. for it to continue lower, we have to see a break. Otherwise, it could just get stuck in this range. So once we see a break, so maybe something like this, if we see a break, then I will look for price to drop. However, if price gets held above this level, then it could go higher towards the top of the range. But for now, bias is bearish and target is 21,000. So that's it. I hope you guys have a wonderful trading day, and I will see you again tomorrow. Bye for now.